$25. That is what this analog delay from Behringer costs. Welcome to my review of this Behringer VD400 vintage delay for electric violin players. For context, you can't see it, but I'll take a picture of this and show you my setup. You can see that I have a Fishman Platinum Pro, and I am using the Fishman Platinum Pro to go into the delay because I'm using, for this video today, a Electric Violin Labs 3 Dragonfly 6-string, and that's it's a piezo-based pickup. So I'm using my preamp, and that just makes a little bit of a difference in terms of helping make the sound more full, so that way that there's the correct amount of impedance matching the pedal. The controls on this pedal are really simple, which is another great feature. The repeat rate, which is here, and the repeat rate sets the time between the original note and the echo. The echo control sets how loud the repeats are when they come back, and then the intensity sets how many repeats come back before they fade away. And this is a really great thing because this pedal is very easy to experiment with. There aren't a ton of menus, there aren't a ton of functions, so it's, you know, it's kind of an old school design, but in a great way. And again, we have, you know, your basic input here. You have your regular power supply, and I'm powering it from a Pedal Power X8. And then you have the out and the direct out. So if you want to be experimenting with wet and dry paths, you could do that and be able to record or play with both signals going out at the same time. In performance settings, the VD400 is going to shine the most on sustained notes, lyrical lines, slow melodies, and atmospheric playing. These analog delay pedals tend to sit underneath the note instead of sounding like direct copies, which is a major reason that it can sound really beautiful on electric violin. A long bowed note with warm vibrato into warm analog repeats can sound big and beautiful, even though the pedal itself is small and inexpensive. So let's hear an example of that. Not gonna lie, delay is one of the most satisfying effects to me ever, and so I could really go on and just play and improvise with the delay pedal. And so experimenting with each of these features, if I turn up the intensity, then I will get a lot faster, more repeats, to a very intense point when the feedback starts to affect it, and we'll talk about that a little later. I can turn up my rate. Turn up my echo, so my echoes are very, very loud if I choose. And then any sort of combination of those that you choose for different phrasing. Now, unfortunately, I'm not wireless today. It's very annoying. And that can be very interesting for experimental playing or for ambient playing, depending on what else you have going on. So being able to kind of understand and control that intensity feature can really give you some very interesting results. Now, fast passages are a little more complicated, and you could sort of hear that because the repeats blur together more than sort of a modern digital delay, which can be good if that's what you want, but it might not be so good if you're looking for a really clean delay and really clean sound. So if I just do some sort of like Schrodiak style, you sort of lose a little of the articulation in the repeats. So so it really depends on what your goal is. If it's clarity, then this might not be the right delay pedal for you, or you might want to go with a digital delay pedal. But if it's a little bit of warmth and shimmer and the precision is not as important to what you're doing musically, then this could be a great option. Now, pizzicato usually stays pretty good, and double stops and chords can get a little weird, but get a lot from that pizzicato, which is nice. Your double stops, your chords are going to be a little and you get sort of a wash, and all of these settings are still sort of, let me just pop back to the pedal really fast. You can see they're still in the neutral noon setting. So the high register lines in these are something I want to talk about for violinists. One of the clarifying features of a violin is the higher sounds. Now, the higher sounds can benefit from this type of analog delay pedal because the pedal can soften some of the higher notes on repeats, and that's due to the circuit structure. So you can get some really beautiful tones. Now, like we experienced before, we experienced something called self-oscillation. And self-oscillation is when I bumped that intensity level up, and the pedal actually started to feed the repeats back into itself. And like you heard, it just kind of expanded almost in an out of control way. And this is a standard behavior of an analog delay pedal. Like, you can do this with that. It's not unusual. And if you use it carefully, then you can create sort of a cinematic swell. And I want to see if I'm actually able to do this without like setting the pedal afire. Now I can already hear the noise just from touching my violin string. That is wild. Let's try this again. So I'm just going to set everything else really low because I want to see if I can achieve this without overwhelming. And then dial that back. And there's that self-oscillation. So if you want to do some really interesting experimental things, you can really start to take a look at that intensity knob and develop some kind of really interesting cinematic responsive tones. So genre-wise, this pedal makes a lot of sense for you if you're an ambient player, if you play worship, if you like to play cinematic music, if you play folk music and folk textures. You can really use those shorter delay times and create sort of slapback feel style delay instead of the more ambient ones. So those are all really interesting effects for different types of music. And what I've demonstrated for you so far is sort of the medium settings, which give you some nice rhythms to play off of. And you can also use those longer settings or more extended settings like to create those really nice cinematic textures. And the point of those in an analog delay pedal is warmth, it's mood, it's creating this musical environment. Overall, I have a lot of delay pedals. I'll be reviewing a lot of delay pedals, and I think that VD400 price for what it is an amazing pedal for $25, especially if you already use a preamp, if you want a warm sounding delay, if you haven't tried a lot of delay but you want to experiment in a way that makes it easy to understand what a general delay pedal does, what the components are and what the controls are. This is great. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, please like, comment, subscribe, and go check out electricviolinlabs.com for more electric violin content.